All right, welcome back everybody. Well, this week's going to be super fun because I'm going to teach you not only the Robbie Krieger guitar parts for this song, but I'm also going to teach you a lot of the Ray Manzarek keyboard parts on this song. So if you ever wanted to do that, you're going to learn that today. This is Riders on the Storm by The Doors, which is on their, I guess, their last studio album with Jim Morrison, LA Woman, 1970, I want to say. And just a beautiful piece of work, obviously influenced by like Ghost Riders in the Sky, spaghetti western kind of stuff, sound maybe. But beautiful, beautiful little part. The guitar is not all that involved, but it's great. It's just classic Robbie. He plays what needs to be played and doesn't what doesn't. So I'm going to take you through that. And like I said, the keyboard parts as well. Okay, so if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell will let you know when I drop new content. I do that every single week. All my lessons have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, just like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or even better, you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons I do on YouTube, just like this one. And links in the description, so check it out. All right, so Riders on the Storm. I'm going to pull out my most Robbie Krieger-like guitar that I own. This is a 68 SG Special. Love it. On tone for Robbie's guitar, like, you know, Robbie always plays with his fingers, number one. And on this one, it's sort of more of a, I don't know, bounces back and forth between more of a somewhat jazz stuff that happens. And then he's got the great tremolo effect that he's got going on for a lot of stuff too. I'm going to play with the pick. I'm going to play with the pick because I don't care. And so let's talk about first. I'm going to talk about the guitar parts. I'll just take you through all of those, and then we'll go and do a deep dive on the keyboard part and learn that. Okay, so I've got my tone on my. I've got my guitar on my neck pickup to get a little warm. Dial in my tone knob for taste. All the details of my signal chain is in the description below. So this is in standard tuning, and then for the guitar parts, there's a tremolo, which is somewhere around that speed and depth, maybe. And so let's talk about Robbie's guitar parts. So you sort of don't hear anything until Jim starts singing Riders on the Storm, and there's a lot of sort of call and response interplay between the two. So, you know, Riders on the Storm. This is all based on E minor. This whole song is very, very E minor. Riders on the Storm. And we're going to go to a 4 chord here, and the way that he plays these, I've seen it done a number of ways, and I've seen him play it a number of ways on video and stuff. But to get it to sound like the record to me the most, here's the chord voicings that I feel like he does. So basically what he's doing is an A minor with an open A string, and he's doing a B minor again with the open E string, and then he repeats it. So and then he does this inversion. I hear these notes. So it's just, that's the next inversion, A minor and B minor, again with that open A. You also hear, and when they play that, there's sort of an interplay, Robbie's playing certain notes on guitar, Ray's playing certain notes on the keyboard, and they sort of overlap a lot. There's another phrasing that you sort of hear. You hear these notes, which I think is actually Ray on the keyboard, but I like to do this to sort of cover them both. So when I play it, I go, times, and then another time I'll do. Sort of get that, and then we're back, sort of make him understand. And then the turnaround chords are D to C. So that's the first verse. The subsequent verses, when Jim is singing, he does this really evil sounding guitar part. I like to play it in that position, but you can also play it with open strings. Will work there too. It's just like if you have an E minor chord and you're just adding those notes. It's almost James Bond. Right? It's sort of like the old rock and roll thing, you know, where when you're playing open E string and it's the same note, but you're using the G note, which is the note that makes it an E minor, as your pedal note against it, which just makes it sound mysterious and evil, like the fruits of the devil, right? So yeah, so that's the sort of verse formations on that, and then it launches into a guitar solo, and the guitar solo is pretty much all down here in first position. Isn't that great? Little hammer-ons right on the second fret on the 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. Hit that open E. And that bend is so small. It's so small. It's there, but it's don't go too hard, because that's not. Don't go that hard. Just. And then we're going to do another version of that, you know, hammer on the 2nd fret, but now we're pulling off and moving strings across. Right, so that whole thing again. Love it. Come back to. Lovely. All right. So then runs through another verse, and then you go into the long keyboard solo. Now what Robbie's doing under the keyboard solo, I'll talk a little bit about that. He launches it with that sort of 12th fret, just the E minors, the strings 1 through 3. Pulls that off, and then Ray plays his little part, which we'll learn in just a little bit. But what he's doing basically throughout behind Ray, he's obviously laying back, he's playing with his fingers, but he's basically bouncing a lot between the 12th and the 14th fret on sort of the strings 2 to 4 or 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. That's really all he's doing. I mean, he might have the tremolo. He might actually have the tremolo off for that. And the tone rolled off. So there's a lot of that. Then there's a lot of this, which is a variation of the that we learned. He just plays it as sort of more chorded. You know, again, just sparse, doesn't do it every time, doesn't do the other one every time. He just mixes them all up. So that's really all he's doing. The whole entire solo is an E minor vamp that we'll see. And so that's what he's doing to sort of support Ray on the keyboard. That's what he's doing on guitar. And that's kind of it during the guitar solo. So then the only other guitar part that's left really that's different is what happens during the outro. This is a little fun. So the keyboard's sort of vamping a little bit, doing something a little different, but still sort of in the E minor family. So Robbie comes in and he's going to play, the way I like to play it is in this position. You hear him doing this sort of a mock Riders of the Storm lyric. Right? Is the first part, then that's now Jim singing over that. Switch the strings. And then he just noodles around in there. That's not note for note, but that's where he's playing it. Everything is and that note there. That's where he's noodling around. But he ends it in, and then the keyboard starts breaking down, and then there's these beautiful jazzy sounding chords that Robbie plays, and it's a call and response between what Ray plays. Ray does a little ding, and then Robbie does like an answer, or maybe he's playing something and Ray's answering. I forget which, right? But the chords were like, I always want to know what those chords were. So the first chord is just straight up, again, E minor at the 12th fret. The second one is a piece of a B9 chord. And then he plays a pretty little piece of a D chord. And then a D major 7 to D. Slide it up to our 12th fret again. Now this next chord is super tricky. I isolated the little sound on this guitar chord and ran it through a sonic analyzer because for the life of me, I could not figure out what this was, and I was trying to get some clues. It says it's a G major 7, but I'm hearing lower notes in there. In fact, I'm hearing a G and even a C note on the low end of that too. It could be that Ray is playing those notes on the keyboard, but I don't think so. I think that is a guitar chord that he's trying to do. So my attempt at this chord is going to be this fingering, okay? It's these parts of a G major 7 chord. I'm going to leave that 3rd string open. I'm going to cover off on the 5th and 6th strings with my middle finger. Leave the G string open, and I'm hitting the major 7 note, the F sharp note there with my pinky, okay? So it looks like this on the screen. It's an insanely difficult chord, which leads me to believe that I'm probably wrong. But I'm hearing all those notes. So if you want to do it the easy way, it'll still sound great. G major 7. And then it's just straight across on your 2nd fret, and he picks sort of the 5th string down to the 2nd string, and then 4th to 1st on the 12th, and that's the last one. So all of those again. Let's do this one. There you go, and that's it for the guitar part. Now let's talk about Ray Manzarek's keyboard part. We're gonna have some fun with this. So his keyboard part, very E minor, okay? And what I discovered was everything that he's doing is basically straight up notes in a E minor scale, like period. Like there's one spot during the solo where he introduces another note, but everything else is like straight up from a regular old E minor scale. So here's his intro. You'll notice I'll jump around in a couple places, only in a couple places where I need to lower the octave a little bit because I can't get up to the actual octave note that he hits. And this is one part. So the very first thing that he plays to intro the song, that's the little riff that he plays to intro it. And then he does this. Or you could play it here. One of the two, but on the keyboard he's up here. All right, this is all tabbed out for my Patreon members. I'm not going to do the little floating dot around all these, but just stay with me here. Feel free to use the little gear icon on YouTube if you want to slow any of this down to watch it. But okay, so now the big riff, right? All right, flubbed one of those notes. But here's what's going on here. I'll slow that down. Here's what's going on. This is a straight up E minor scale, okay? All the notes that he's playing is in that scale. He's starting it on this B note up here on the 17th, 19th fret. And you're just walking down. This is the highest note. A down here is the lowest note. It spans 4 octaves. If I just look at the regular E minor scale and I just played that descending all the way down, here's what it would sound like. Right? And that's actually what he is doing. He's just introducing a pattern into it. He's first skipping a note. So you play your first note, you skip the next one, and then you jump back to the note that you skipped. Then you skip one, jump back to the note you skipped, right? So skip down, up one, skip down, up one, skip down, up one, all the way down. That's all that's happening. When you get to the A, okay, so let me talk about a couple ways to do that. Because this spans 4 octaves, you can't do everything in sort of one position. Like you will have to find a way to move from here to here if you want to do that whole sort of run. And you just got to choose which lane or which strings are you traveling on, right? You could do a lot of it right here. Now I got to travel all the way down. And what I've noticed for me, when you start getting on the lower strings and you got to do a lot of traveling on that single string, it's just, I don't know, it's just difficult. I don't like it as much. What I've done, and what I'll tab out for everybody on Patreon, is my sort of route all the way down. And I sort of mix a little bit of traveling on the first string, a little bit of traveling on the second string, a little bit traveling on the third, and all the way across down here, right? So it looks like this. That's all the traveling on the first string. That's the travel on the second string. And the third. I sort of want to get the most mileage out of, being in one position on these low strings. end it with, play that D with a third on the bottom and the E minor with the third on the bottom. All right. So that's the intro part. Have fun with that. Let's talk about the solo now. I'll show you all the solo parts. So the keyboard solo is very guitar friendly. The way Ray plays, there's a lot of double stops, a lot of sort of 2-note, 3-note, and single note stuff, but it sort of sounds like a noodling guitar. And again, all in E minor. And here's where, there's one part of the solo where he introduces one additional note. I think it's a blue note. That little part. Okay, so he comes in. The guitar solo starts with Robbie doing that. So here's the position that I like to play all these things in. This next riff. Love that double stop thing there. Okay. Then he goes back to his intro riff. Again, I have to jump an octave down. He does it all the way up here, but it gets higher than I can get. That one's fun. And then this one is super difficult for me. I still don't have it nailed. But I think the best position that I can get with this is down here, what I'll show you. I'll play it super slow. Right? It helps me for the first one to be an up pick. That was a big help for me. End on an E minor chord, and then this is great. This is just a D, 2 D, 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 E minor. Awesome. Triads. Play 2 strings or 3. And then here's where I mix in Robbie's little guitar part. This little climb that Robbie does, it's double stop, 2 strings, 4th and 3rd, up 4 frets, and then he moves it to the 3rd and 2nd string. Love that. And then here's where Ray comes in with his little blue note. Boogieing. He finds this little part and then he just milks as much as he can to get out of it. He probably said to himself, "Ooh, I like that." The rest is just all, E minor. Then we're going to go up to this little boogie part here. If you want to sound like a keyboard on this, don't bend your string. Like a guitar player will want to do this. That's what I always did. But don't do that if you want to sound like a guitar. I sound more like a keyboard, and I actually enjoy doing it this way. Because that's what a keyboard has to do. There's no bending of the note of a keyboard. Right? So that's how you play that lick, and I like it better. This little part, here, I don't have this next little bit note for note, but it's just boogieing down here on your, below that little riff. And what he does is he just plays a little boogie down there, and then he jumps up and hits it, and then he plays down below a little bit, and then he jumps up and he hits it. Right. Let me come back to that. That's not note for note. And then he goes. Now he's going to pick up on that riff that everybody's been doing, right? Right? So the keyboard, what he's going to do, he's going to do it in two different versions. He's going to start off with, well, the way I do it, he's playing it 3 notes, and then he's going to add a 4th note below. So the first part is. Then he adds the 4th string to get that E minor. Or maybe that's it. And then continuing on that on the 2nd and 3rd string. Then we're back to our riff. That string's out of tune. Well, there you go. All right, well, that's all I'm going to say about Riders in the Storm. Have fun with that keyboard part. It's all tabbed out for my Patreon members. Super fun riff to do that, to learn that descending one for me. I'm still going to work on it and tighten that up. But that was Riders on the Storm by The Doors, and I hope you learned something new today. If you like what you saw and you haven't done so yet, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell, let you know when I drop new content. Also, give me a like. That helps a lot. It helps the videos a lot. And let me know in the comments what you think about this. And if there's another song you want me to do and do a similar lesson, let me know what that is too. But until next week, take care, everybody.